At 2:08 a.m., my floodlights snapped on the siren I didn't know I owned, screamed across Cedar Valley, and a shadow scrambled off my roof with a pair of bolt cutters, glinting like trouble had a smile. By the time her shoes hit my ladder, 2 black SUVs were already turning onto Sycamore Bend, Wyatt. Deliberate, no drama in the engine at all. I thumbed record on my phone and told myself to breathe. Whatever this was, I was going to let the proof do the talking. Yeah, that happened. I'm Jake Miller. I read Sky for a living. Not horoscopes. I wrangle storm data off a private research link that rides through a dish on my roof, tied to a university project under the Department of Commerce, so that little gray circle everyone mistakes for Sunday football is actually my paycheck. My purpose. The difference between forecasting wind that slaps the valley and guessing with a wet finger. My next-door neighbor, Madison Clark, loves authority the way some folks love sourdough starters. Feeds it daily, shows it off. Swears it keeps the whole neighborhood healthy. Saturday, 6:10 a.m. She pounded on my door like the house owed her rent. Lifted a notice of violation with a manicure you could see from space and tapped section 12.4 like it was scripture. Roof fixtures must be low profile. Your dish is disruptive. Cooperate, and you won't learn the hard way. Her math didn't match the bylaws I'd actually read, so I asked for the vote. The minute's the part where vandalism is community service, and she just smiled that floss-thin smile and marched off like she'd closed a case. An hour later, coffee steaming foothills going pink. I heard metal scrape, looked up, and there she was, halfway up my ladder, snipping my cokes like it was a thorn off a rose. Spark snap. My monitor, inside, went dead, like a stagehand yanked the cord. I wanted to yell. Instead, I took 5 photos in 5 seconds with the timestamp front and center, texted my supervisor. The calmest lie I know. Network down, 'cause unknown ETR 2 hours. And got 23 minutes before the SUVs rolled in doors, opening without a bounce, badges lifted with 0 theater. Agent Daniel Ortiz, Commerce Liaison. Polite and all business. Your feed cut and flagged our office. We're here to ensure the hardware hasn't been compromised. His partner scanned the dish with a handheld meter, while Madison drifted over from her lawn, like she owned the streetlight. Pruners tucked in her tote shoulders, turned to steel. That dish violates our height code. I am the HOA compliance chair I was helping, and Ortiz didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. Ma'am, this link is part of a documented research program. Tampering is a federal offense. And honest to God, I watched the color leave her face like someone unplugged it. They bagged her cutters like a museum tag. He handed me a card and said a technician would restore the line this afternoon. Log the address. Call me if the HOA tries authority here again. That night, our listserv lit up. Urgent compliance notice. Unauthorized government equipment. Signed by Madison as acting communications officer. Because of course she was, and I wasn't scared of the email. I was scared of what fear does to a cul-de-sac that wants to believe it's safer than it is. First meeting folding chairs, what coffee? Madison with color printouts circled in red like a crime scene, and a laser pointer she used like a wand. Surveillance, risk eyes, on the roofs, standards matter. Mr. Alvarez in row 3 raised a hand, like he was hailing common sense. Didn't federal agents show up because you cut his cable, and she called it a misunderstanding. While Alan Brooks, our spreadsheet of a HOA president, asked to verify facts. Which is HOA for I don't want to fight Madison on a Tuesday. Next morning, 2 local inspectors arrived with clipboards, and the look of men who question their life choices said they had a work order from the HOA possible zoning violation, and I put Ortiz on speaker. Gentlemen, document arrival and departure. Do not touch the equipment. The SUVs eased back in. Inspectors nodded like bobbleheads left with relief, and I thought maybe the movie was over. At 1:14 a.m., a drone hummed by my window with a GoPro blinking like a dare, and sunrise brought an anonymous post. Community notice, surveillance in progress. Anonymous, the way a signature perfume is anonymous. You know what I mean. I didn't clap back. I called a friend at the local station who tells tech stories. No one knows how to film. He came with a good mic and a calm voice, aired a piece called Local HOA Mistakes Research Dish for Spy Device, and Madison rebutted in Comic Sans, which should be a misdemeanor, and the street split down an anxiety line you could trip over. 2 days later, the twist hit. 2 different SUVs, new badges. Department of Homeland Security, Special Agent Larson. Anonymous report that your equipment has been modified beyond specs to transmit data. I walked them through my little office like they were cousins, visiting for iced tea. Take photos, call Ortiz. The only thing I've modified is my patience. They were thorough fare, not buying the script, and as Larson signed, he asked if I was used to this, and I told him I moved here for the view. Didn't know it came with theater. That night, Ortiz forwarded the anonymous complaint, stamp. Technical words tossed like confetti, and I scrolled my security cam. And there she was. Pink robe slippers, phone flashlight, cutting a white ribbon across my roof. And I didn't confront her. I labeled the file. 2025-007-19-211. Madison. Filming. MP4, saved it twice, told myself to let gravity do what gravity does. I hosted a barbecue that weekend because burgers fix more than bylaws. Kids running wild neighbors, softening. And I asked for 2 minutes. Hit play on the projector, showed exactly what I showed a neighbor in a robe filming my roof at 2:11 a.m. A few gasps, a couple of nervous laughs, a mood you can feel when a room turns its chair. And across the street, Madison lifted her phone like a shield and yelled, "How dare you film me?" And I said, "How dare you climb my roof?" And my voice didn't even shake. 3 nights later, the sensor pinged at 4:43 a.m. Breach detected. I could have sprinted out, yelled, "Played hero." But yelling is a favor to people who need an audience. So I watched floodlights. Whoomped on recorded voice said, "Security breach detected, step away from the equipment, sheriff." And Ortiz arrived like this was our new rhythm. Deputy Chow wrote the citation without drama, while Madison pointed at me like dodgeball and said he's manipulating everyone. He has federal friends, and the deputy didn't look up. I don't care if he has friends or house plants. Your trespassing sign here. I didn't sleep much. Anger vibrates drywall. And Tuesday, I got served. Because of course I did petition for injunction and damages. Emotional distress, remove equipment, and the judge watched 30 seconds of her on my roof and hit stop with a sigh that sounded like end of week at noon. Dismissed with prejudice. She said, edited lies, conspiracies, and he set the pen down like he'd misplaced his tolerance. "Ma'am, that is enough." Outside, she leaned in too close. "You humiliated me. You think you won. You'll pay." And I said the line I'm not proud of. But it's true, I already pay. They call it property tax. If this story paused there, it'd be tidy. But people who need to win don't stop. They rebrand. At 12:58 a.m., a rental truck delivered a shiny DIY dish to her driveway, floodlight to the sky, like she was signaling the mothership. A hand-painted sign that read, "Private research. no trespassing. And when I asked about a permit, she said I filled one out, which is not how permits work. And by noon, Ortiz had a laptop. Open face of a math teacher who smells smoke. She's transmitting on restricted frequencies. Officers asked nicely. Then, less nicely, she signed a voluntary removal and watched her project leave in the same quiet it arrived. Midnight again. Boundary review. A micro-excavator idled on her lawn. Reflective vest grin. "Your fence is 22 inches onto my lot," she said. "And I told her you do not want to do this at midnight. Motion sensors near the line, the system logs anything that crosses." And she called bluff. Told her cousin to dig. "Alarm," chirped Blue Pulse. Ortiz documented flags, bucket marks trench that wandered away from the actual boundary, like it lost confidence. Cousin killed the engine. I'm out of Mads, and she stood alone in the glare, with a plan that looked small when you backed up. Last assembly. I was tired, not triumphant. Madison brought a gadget that beeped like a stubborn bird. Said it detected radiation. Alan rubbed his eyes. That's a smoke alarm sensor. The room laughed the way a room laughs when it's embarrassed for someone else, and I kept my voice easy. Said I had one last clip. The uncut sequence. Cut cable drone. Midnight ladder citation DIY removal. Not to gloat, to end the rumor tornado, and when the HVAC was the only noise left. Alan straightened. Motion to suspend the compliance chair's authority pending legal review of repeated misuse. Hands went up like wheat in wind. Gavel clacked, small sound. Big summer, and 10 minutes later, a certified letter slid into her box. Federal hearing notice. And I didn't cheer. I took a sip of coffee and let the street find its own silence. I haven't moved. The dish still blinks a soft blue at night, like a heartbeat tucked into shingles. Neighbors talk about teachers and dogs with complicated personalities again. And when I see Madison's porch light click on and off like an unsettled thought, I look once and look away. Not asking you to hate her. Asking you to notice how entitlement dresses up like civic duty when no one draws boundaries. I started this feeling small in my own house. Madison mistook my calm for weakness. I let her make that mistake while I stacked proof. And I learned that sometimes mercy isn't a second chance. It's a paper trail. And if you want the truth to hold, you can't shout it. You have to pin it down. So tell me, when does a neighbor stop being a neighbor and become a problem the system has to fix? Was Madison a villain? Or did we all build a street where power looks like a clipboard and not a conversation? If you've lived through an HOA that went too far, or a neighbor who weaponized rules, drop your story below. Push back. Defend her. If you want, tell me where you're watching from, and if this hit a nerve, share it with the person who needs to hear it. I'll be in the comments and, yeah, I'm still keeping the receipts.